I go to Listening College, and I'm here with
Marjorie Leslie.
So, what motivated you to get into the work you do, or did?
Well, I'm still working. Initially in my professional life, I was a social worker. Got back into the late 60s, early 70s. I retired 14 years ago due to family pressures. And then I decided about 13 years ago that I would go to the Churches Trust because I had nursed my mother through dementia and I thought I had some skills to pass on. So that's what brought me. Not only do we work with people with dementia, but we do shopping, we sit with people to befriend them, because not everyone has got a family member.
Mm-hmm. What are some most common misconceptions about older people?
That's a very good question, because today some of the younger people think, oh, they're past it, throw them in the scrap heap, which is very, very wrong, because the older people today in this city have built this city. I'm sure you have learned that the shirt factory industries were big in this city many moons ago, and you would have found then a lot of the women working in the factories. Some of them hands disabled maybe today because of that. And I think young people need to learn that the older generation, myself included, we have contributed to society and to our city in whatever way we could do it.
So what type of barriers did you face when joining employment?
What's your name? Sophie. When I was starting employment way back in the early 60s, I didn't really face anything. I went to commercial college, I went to work in the post office, I got married, had kids, then I went to work in Desmond's factory as a dispatch clerk. There was no barriers there. Then Claudia bombs came, unfortunately, I was injured. So I was off from July till January, and back in January in 2003, and I was in the new dispatch and I couldn't handle the big doors closing at night. Went there and got an application form for nursing auxiliary in Grancher. No problem. Applied on a Monday, interview on a Friday, and I started the next week. And then I realised about 3-4 years later, my calling was more into doing more community, more social. So I went off then. I went to Fort James Children's Home, done night nurse for a couple of years, and then I went and done my social work training. So I was very fortunate because in those days there was a lot of employment about. The young people today, and I accept, we don't have the same volume of employment. And if we look at the way places are closing down, shops are closing, retail, whatever, factories have gone. And I'm sure that young people today are sometimes thinking, what do? There's nothing for me, I'm going to bin the door. Some people you'll find are leaving the city and going out across the water or whatever. But I think if the young people at school could look and say, right, I need to get a good qualification because that's my grounding, that I could go into further education, be it universities or whatever, because if you get yourself trained, there'll always be an opening for you.
Have you ever been discriminated against because of your age?
No, I haven't. Sophie, I suppose whenever I was growing up way back, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, and I'm still here, really and truly, there wasn't the same discrimination against people as there is today. I can speak on behalf of older people because I work with them. And yes, people with disabilities, people with mental health, people maybe with a physical disfiguration can be looked at, laughed at, scorned at. And it's sad that young people, and even 20, 30 people who think they're Jack the Lad, Mr. Oh, look at them. It's all wrong. Because these people belong to a family. They've got loved ones. And they can feel very, very hurt when they're discriminated against. I've been very fortunate. I haven't been discriminated against, and I haven't, but I would advocate for a lot of people that I work who do have, and if someone was nasty to someone in my care when I'm out in the community, I wouldn't be long of saying to them.
Mm-hmm. In what ways does representation in media affect perception of older people?
Well, some things reported in the media can have a positive or a negative effect on older people. If the older person has been brought to the attention of the law or something like that, then it's very down on them. Oh, they're this, they're that, they're the other thing. But there's also good that comes out of the media sometimes when you see maybe an elderly person has done a great piece of work, and then maybe it's some kind of exhibition that's been shown, okay? And unfortunately, people are very much pick up on the negatives. They don't pick up on the positives. And to be critical of older people who are not just as well accepted in society, need to be very careful, because we don't know the circumstances that has led that person to be there. And I'm thinking sometimes you would see some of the older people on the streets. You don't see a lot of them, but you do in the bigger cities, as I've seen them, and people scrounge upon them, which I think that's totally wrong, because we don't know why they're there. And I don't like people who say, oh, I wouldn't give them anything, blah, blah, blah. I've had many an argument, because I wouldn't give them money, but I give them food. And the media sometimes can be very, very negative in that response.
How did you feel when you first realised you were being treated unfairly?
Sophie, I've been very, very fortunate in life, and I have never been treated unfairly, but I can speak for older people because I work with them now through the Church's Trust, and some of them are treated really unfairly. And it goes right across the board. This comes to politics as well. Now, if I just recap this year, what happened with that government? They stopped payments, winter fuel payments and all gone. And older people really were suffering. I went into a person that they had to decide, were I going to eat today or am I going to put on the heating? And that is really, really bad. That is really bad. People will say, oh, if he didn't smoke or if he didn't have a drink, he'd have more money in his pocket. How does one stop a habit of a lifetime? And if that brought a wee bit of enjoyment to that person, why can't they? Why can't they? I also find that sometimes there's a thing comes into play here called families. Some families are excellent with their parents and their older grannies, grandpas, whatever. But there's some families forget that person gave them life, fed them, reared them, clothed them, educated them. And I don't like that people who discriminate against the elderly people.
Do you feel your rights have been affected?
No, I don't think my rights have been affected. But there again, if people's rights, this is a long subject you could cover, because this covers a lot of aspects, not only from the elderly, but let's say someone has been physically abused, for example, all right, and an elderly person, especially walking down the street, a bottle stuck in the back of his neck. Sometimes the process, I don't feel, goes properly through the system to allow that person to take this to court and the perpetrator be actually punished for it. So in law, sometimes our rights are taken away, and the elderly person and older people, when they get older, are scared. They're very scared of authority. And, you know, it's about talking to them about it's okay to go to a solicitor, it's okay to report a thing to the police, you've done no wrong. People's rights as well. I know of someone who was in the streets and wanted to go into a cafe to get a coffee and a sandwich, and because he smelled, he didn't get in. So his rights were taken away from him. He's a human being, he needed food and he couldn't get it because of the circumstances. I've also noticed sometimes, not so very much here in our city, but also whenever you'd get an elderly person on public transport, years and years ago in my day, if you were a lady and you were standing, a gentleman got up and gave you a seat. That doesn't happen today, and I've travelled in the trains throughout Britain. And older people, they don't even get up and say to that old person, you can have my seat. I would do it because there's people a lot less fortunate. I'm very able-bodied, thank God, and there's people less fortunate than me and they can't be. People sometimes, older people, you find they have something to hold on to, and sometimes it's a wee dog. And wherever that man or woman may go, they like the wee dog to go. Not every place allows a dog. There are more. I haven't been eating in the town, but I know across the water, Scotland, Wales, there are people you can take your dog into. And I think if you ask an old man to leave his wee dog outside, he might think, no, because the dog could be kicked, it could be anything. So he hasn't even the right to take his wee friend with him. And I think, as again, go back, if younger people, maybe perhaps in this forum or in your school or whatever, were maybe brought in and shown more about how older people sometimes have to live today, I think that would help them go a long way.
Yeah. Do you feel like you can stand up for your rights?
Yes. And I will stand up for anybody else's rights. I'm currently got a client and I'm fighting hard for her rights. Again, some people have got certain conditions that these people one day were the people who were working in our hospitals, in our factories, whatever. Confidence have gone, something has hit them, and they don't have any more confidence today. And therefore, rather than fight with anybody, or rather than fight for something, they just let it go, or forget about it, let it go, which I think is all wrong. But you have got the likes of social services who can be advising them, this is what you can do, we need a solicitor here, we get it. Or if their family's around, if their family are around, they can be a big help to the person to fight for their rights. But I think older people, we're talking about educating young people, all right? But I think tip the scales. And the older person needs to be given encouragement as well to say, you can fight for your rights.
Do you feel that you can contribute to society?
Yes. I think first of all, it's my work as a social worker. All those years, I was 30-something years social worker. I contribute a lot. I work in family and childcare. Children would be very much my focus, centre of my focus. Working now within the Church's Trust and working with older people, and not all old people, there's some of them maybe 50s as well, but I'm contributing there to taking them out to socialise, taking them out in the car, taking them for a coffee, taking them shopping, take them for a walk, take them to the park. Maybe they might meet somebody they knew years ago. And yes, I do feel that I contribute to society, and that's all sections of society. And again, I am not politically minded, and I have got friends right across the board. So I like to help people, and I would do anything for them.
Yeah. Have you ever felt frightened for your safety in the city?
Yes, and that's when I was a social worker. Because in family and childcare, we used to have to take kids away. We used to do calls in the middle of the night, and you're standing at somebody's door, mum and dad or dad, whoever, and friends full inside, 4 kids, and you need them out, and you're shaking in your boots. That is in a professional capacity. As in a personal, I have no fear. I have to say that back in '72, after the bombs in Claudy, I never came across this town for 4 years. And then my fear was if bombs gone off, because I'd experienced an awful bomb in Claudy. and therefore that frightened me. But eventually with time, and from my husband, who was alive and well in those days, encouragement from him, I got myself back. But no, I wouldn't be frightened in the city. Now, yes, I'm an older woman now. I wouldn't, for example, walk on the Strand Road late at night because of the reports you hear, what's happening today, drugs, whatever. But no, I wouldn't be frightened because I've nothing to be frightened about. I can go where, you know, but in the dark I wouldn't.
Yeah. Can you give an example of a positive experience you have had which has helped you feel more comfortable in the town?
Right, about 5 years ago, 6 years probably, there was a lady called Jo Egan. She was a writer, and she wrote a play or a storytelling session called The Crack and Everything. And that was across community, where families of children who had been murdered in the Troubles, be it by the army, be it by bombs, be it whatever, we done this production. And for me, it was fantastic because I was working with people of different religions from myself, and they were suffering as I was suffering because everybody was looking for an answer to what happened to their loved ones. As I was looking for an answer for Catherine Aiken being killed and the other 8 people in Claudy, and for why it was bombed. But that's something we'll never find. But what it has done, I have built a bond with those people, and I'm still in contact with them. And that has just opened doors for me. And it's lovely to understand their culture, and I have a very, very good friend, and I attend her church quite a bit, and it's not my denomination, but I go to her church, and because she's like a daughter to me, and that has really broadened my outlook and been accepting of everyone, because we're all God's people.
How can people in the city support you or your organisation in supporting equality?
Well, I think the Church's Trust have come a long way from my community 13 years ago. I mean, there's so many programs, diversity now for young people. They have got the service which I provide and the other carers provide for the older community as well. And I think as well, it's interesting taking an older person. Maybe there's something on up in St. Cecilia's. I remember, I'll give this an example. They had singing classes in the summertime. The music teacher had then retired, but just started community singing classes, and I was looking after a lady who lived in the community, and I went there with her. I can't sing a note, but I was singing Danny Boy, and that was really lovely because I met people from the Lone Moor Road, from the Bog and whatever, from Craigan, and that was absolutely beautiful. And you know, if we had more of wee things like that in pockets of the town, that older people could come out, show some of their talents. I mean, people played the tin whistle, people maybe played bagpipes, maybe people played drums, and maybe today would still love it. I go to a lady who's got dementia, and she played in an accordion band many, many years ago. She still has her accordion, and someday she'll say, Marjorie, bring out my accordion. And she tries to play, and that's therapy for her. Music is very important, and I think it's great for old people. I just love the old songs, and we have many from Derry.
What's one thing you would like to see changed in the city for older people?
Right, this is something I thought about. There's quite a lot of centres and whatever for the older people today in the city, and there's a lot of luncheon clubs held by different people, churches and different organisations. But I would just love if we could have some kind of a hall in a central, non-political part of our city that we could bring and encourage everybody from all different religions to come into, and no one would feel threatened going into it. Now I know that Craig and Irish Street, the Bog, they've all got wee centres, but being the city that we are, people won't cross over the line. I won't go there, I won't go here. That is something I would love to see, because there's a lot of ladies in this town who have got great talents, be it knitting, be it doing embroidery,
Mm-hmm.
crochet, singing, baking. There's a lot of talent out there. And there's some maybe older woman would love to go out and do some of that in front of people again. That's what I would like to see.
And how do you think young people can bring about a positive change into the city?
That's a good question. I think today young people have got so many distractions. Number one, drugs, alcohol, okay, violence. I think there's so much in the media, and there's some things I see on TV, and I think a lot of young people and what do you call it, YouTubes and things like that, pick up so much negative. But you go back into their home to their parents. Now it all depends. A lot of families are single parent families, whatever, fragmented for whatever reasons. The hand that's in that house is trying to teach that young person, and maybe doing a very good job. But that young person then becomes a teenager, and they go down their avenues, and they get in with maybe the wrong group of people, who then lead them astray. If you can engage in your school and likes of organisation, constructive, good organisations, you can learn so much. And it's like the churches trust you. You've got programs going for young people, and the leaders here are trying to tell you what's right and what's wrong. Now, not every young person is going to listen to them. They may go out that door and say, "Oh, load of balderdash, what was he talking about?" But if sometimes I think, and I'm going back to when I was social working, I would have got young people to write things down, even on bullet point. Maybe they're not good at writing a sentence. Put it down in bullet points. Why you, let's say, for example, I'm a young girl today, and somebody sent to me, "Marjorie, write you down what you think that is bad in our society, what's good, and what could you do to make a change? You're negative, you're positive, what can I do?" Well, will I be accepted by everybody to do this? Look, I'm only a wee poor girl. I'm coming from a working family. You can come from any family. You don't have to come from class 1 and 2. You can be anybody across the board. And I think the young people, if they listen and get a good grounding, I think they will bring about a lot of change and have a lot more understanding. I get very annoyed when I walk around and I hear young people shouting and roaring very abusive language. And that sometimes happens to people in the streets. I can hear that, and it's I don't know if the young people are doing it through ignorance or they're trying to be smart. And look at me, I can do what I want. I was in London. We were in London with our productions, the crack and everything, and we were out one night and we saw these yobs shouting at a young man, a homeless man. Very quickly, the police stepped in and nabbed them. Very, very quickly, because they were just like showing off. It's about having respect for other people. First of all, young people need to have respect for themselves, respect for other people, respect for other people's property, and respect the person no matter what their age are.
Perfect. No, that's us there.